Citizens speak out. People across the world continue to risk their livelihoods and even their lives as they gather in countries such as Bahrain, Lebanon, Italy, Iraq, Côte d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast, Mexico, Syria, Tibet and Yemen to call for basic freedoms, human rights and democratic principles. Iraqi citizens rallied in Baghdad to show solidarity with Bahraini protesters and to call for Saudi troops, who are also suppressing the unarmed activists, to leave the country. Hundreds of Muslims in Rome, Italy called for religious freedom after conducting Friday prayers on April 22nd in the city's famous Piazza Venezia. In Côte d'Ivoire, General Ibrahim Coulibaly, whose forces voluntarily supported President Alassane Ouattara's claim to the presidency after the country's November 2010 elections, announced his agreement to comply with President Ouattara's demand for disarmament. President Ouattara, meanwhile, asked that all combat forces lay down arms to help bring peace to the country.
12 more people lost their lives in Syria on Saturday as government security forces fired on them while they attended funeral processions for protesters killed in a deadly crackdown the previous day. At least 9 more people died on Sunday when security forces fired on protesters in the coastal city of Jableh, who themselves were unarmed and peaceful, as reported by a local resident to Al Jazeera. Rights groups also stated that government forces raided the home of a physician, Dr. Zakaria Al-Akkad, after he reported on events in Jableh to Al Jazeera. Global leaders and governments have also spoken out against the violent repression of unarmed protesters and called for all parties to respect human rights and engage in dialogue to resolve differences fairly, including UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, German Foreign Minister Guido Westerwelle, French Foreign Minister Alain Juppé, Belgian Deputy Prime Minister Steven Van Akkere, Greek Foreign Minister Dimitris Thirutsis, Foreign Ministries of Italy and Russia and the European Parliament. Meanwhile, in Lebanon, members of the Hizb al-Tahrir party marched peacefully in solidarity for Syrian brethren.
In an effort to mediate a ceasefire and support a peaceful resolution to the Libyan conflict, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and Greek Prime Minister George Papandreou held separate conversations with Libyan Prime Minister al-Baghdadi al-Mahmoudi. Meanwhile, the International Committee of the Red Cross delivered water, medical supplies, hygiene kits, and food to address the city's still dire humanitarian crisis. And an aid ship chartered by the International Organization for Migration brought 160 tons of food and medicine to Misurata, then evacuated around 1,000 mostly Nigerian refugees. The United Arab Emirates also delivered its third convoy of humanitarian aid to Benghazi.
Still fleeing the country each day are an estimated 1,500 people who cross the border into Tunisia, with aid workers stating that they expect to see a further increase due to the conflict areas getting closer to the border. As we mourn the precious lives lost, we are heartened by all efforts toward harmonious resolution as we pray that the conflicts in every nation may end and that people everywhere choose lives of shared freedom, dignity, and peace.
In sorrowful response to these unfortunate world events, Supreme Master Ching Hai lovingly reminds, "If the road is wrong, the more we walk on it, the more we go wrong. Any leaders who committed harm to others should stop at once, sincerely repent to God, and act to redeem their mistaken deeds. Then they will be pardoned. Even if humans can't forgive, heaven will."